Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. I'm so glad that you're here. So am I. I know, Bob. Bob and I are glad that you're here. And this week we wanted to talk a little bit about overthinking. I overthink sometimes. I think you do, Bob. I think I do too at times. It's something that I think we all can catch ourselves doing, but sometimes it can get right out of hand. Overthinking can be the biggest cause of unhappiness. It takes time to get rid of the habit, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the ways that you can beat overthinking, or at least acknowledge that it is something that could be causing, issue in your life. I have found that the problem is really the problem. I don't get it. Well, mostly, Bob. A lot of the harm is in our heads, by ourselves and our own thoughts. I have glossed over the power of thought in other episodes in relation to if we don't watch what we are thinking, it can become massively out of proportion. Like enormous? That's exactly right, Bob. A tiny percentage of our overthinking is caused by our reality, or what we perceive as our reality, as in what actually happens in real time and what the actual outcome was. So the problem isn't often the problem, it's the way we think is the problem. Capiche? Capiche. We have to be mindful of not talking ourselves into setting ourselves up for rejection. Don't think the job you'd love to apply for is not worth applying for because you wouldn't get it. I'd apply for it anyway. Well, no, there's no point in reaching out with an email because you think they won't reply. Send it anyway. That's right, Bob. Don't think you'd get that you won't be able to get through the auditions. Audition anyway? That's right. Never think yourself into rejection. No matter outcome, you can pat yourself on the back for putting yourself out there, for trying. I can sleep with that. You pat yourself on the back? I do. That's right, Bob. Bottom line, most problems are not solved with more thinking. They are often, they're solved with less. So if you can't solve a problem, stop trying to. Let yourself off the hook and go do something else that involves you not being able to think of the problem. Maybe a show that you can get mesmerised by, say for instance, in a quiet mind, the answers most often arrive, sometimes by what seems pure magic. There's the answer. The answer was there all the time. A solution, a way out, a great idea. If you can't solve a problem, stop trying to. There are important questions that we can ask. One is there anything I can do right now to change the past or to positively influence the future? If the answer is yes, go for it. Take action. If the answer is no, be at peace and let it go. So take action or let it go, because everything else is self-harm. Oh, like that? Yeah, me too. Because you know what? It's true. Bottom line, you are not going to overthink yourself to a better future, and you're not going to overthink yourself to a better past. The power of now. Marble dwellers, I'm going to call you Barble dwellers. That's right, marble dwellers, Barble dwellers. Grabbing hold of now means you can make right of your past and make better, make good for your future. Acceptance is peace. No amount of anxiety will change your day-to-day, your future, just as no amount of regret will change your past. Peace is found in acceptance. Accept that things will never be perfect. Accept imperfection, accept uncertainty, accept that which you cannot control. Point is, you don't have to understand, tolerate or forget something, but if you want peace, you must accept it. Monitoring your thoughts. Hashtag overthinking. Fact check your own thoughts. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, sometimes you gotta fact check them. Your thoughts will create scenarios in your mind that reflect your insecurities, your worries, and your fears. That's right, and your fears, Bob. So important to check your own thoughts before you accept them as truths, because when we are in highly emotional situations, your thoughts will tell you stories that are not true. Many of us, myself included, journal all our thoughts. Sit back, get comfortable, and write it all out. I write out all my thoughts, weaknesses and strengths, conversation I may have had that really annoyed me, and then I'm asking, why am I annoyed? simply because sometimes people unknowingly or knowingly can step right out of line with their opinions or what they feel they're quite right on commenting on. It's none of their business. They think they're, got some right to, as I say, to say what they think they want to say. And sometimes you just can't get out of the situation in that moment. And so by the time you are free of them, that's when the overthinking, can really kick in. So when I'm doing all my writing and I'm writing it out, sometimes I can really discover like, oh yeah, I must remember that person does have a tendency to know everything there is to know on the planet, and they know you personally, even though they actually don't. But, it just gives me such a sense of support, and I know that many feel the same way. It is a journey, so be gentle with yourself. You have most likely come from some real lows over time. You will overcome that phase, just keep going. Penning down your thoughts brings miracles in terms of changes that you couldn't believe unless you do it to find out how changes can really come about. Writing out how you feel over time starts giving you quite a set of skills simply by getting really clear and honest about how you feel. It has a way of putting things in perspective. Perhaps you can write things that you couldn't actually say to a person, but yet you've got it out and you can see like, okay, these feelings I have, I can't say to this person as much as I'd like to, but it's not going to get you anywhere. You know that you're going to get no satisfaction. You're not going to get the recognition or the acknowledgement, or maybe they're just, pushing too hard. So health starts in your mind. You can go for regular walks. You can, join a gym, eat healthy, do yoga, drink more water or start drinking water. With lifting weights, you are improving your quality of life. The gym is the difference between independence and the nursing home. Oh, yeah. That's my motivation too. No nursing home? No nursing home for you, Bob? No, heck no. Cardio for longer life. The stats are correlated with longevity and greater lung capacity. I've seen my husband struggle to breathe, having half a lung to get him through the rest of his life, and it has made me appreciate having 2 fully functioning lungs. Also in my health arsenal is prioritising my family. You don't get to relive your kids' childhood again. The biggest regret of high achievers is missing their kids' childhood. Oh my goodness, that's a truie, isn't it? For those out there, it's that I've heard people talk of this regret, and it's really quite sad. Man, I was very involved in my kids' childhood, aside being the only parent that gave a damn and showed up, and I still miss their childhood because it was just wonderful, and I really miss it a lot. Hashtag overthinking. If you don't directly confront the negativity in your thoughts, you will never be truly healthy. Our health is not measured on the scales by the size of our muscles or the width of our waist. True health is measured by the quality of our thoughts and the peacefulness of our mind. Health starts in your mind. Oh yeah, that's right. Bloody right. That's right. A quote by Charlie Chaplin: "Nothing is forever in this world, not even our problems." I don't know why. The first time I ever read that, it just made me feel better. Having a good laugh. How hard is it to feel unhappy when you're laughing? I know, right? A bit hard to overthink too if you're having a really good time. Oh, I've got a joke. Okay, well, let's have it. 5 ants rented an apartment with another 5 ants. Oh, yes. Now they're 10 ants. Oh. Oh, there's a good side to overthinking, surely. I was going to ask that. I was going to ask you if there's a good side to overthinking. Well, funny you should ask, Bob. The truth of it is that overthinking can be a great problem-solving tool because extra time has gone into your overthinking in steps, creativity and imagination. Because when we ruminate, our imagination wanders into places that conventional thinking does not enter into. Oh, I like that. That's a bit more like it, isn't it? Good on you, Bob. Because we might consider many possibilities, we can by accident almost find solutions to other matters in our lives. I love that when that happens. Sometimes our need to be right can get in the way of feeling peaceful. We can be busy overthinking, believing how right we are, and have many reasons to support our rightness. It can get messy, Say about politics. That can be such a hot subject. So whether it be about the government, property rights, laws in general, whether it be traffic laws, consumer protection, public health, taxation, education. That's right, Bob. While having an understanding of these diverse avenues of impact underscores the role of law as a cornerstone in society, but it's finding your clan, your tribe to discuss it with. As we know, opinions are varied and it can get unpleasant fast. It is something, that cornerstone. You're not kidding, Bob. And while you may have valid points, being able to read a room or at least understand that not everyone has an understanding nor interest whatsoever in what the government's doing or what sport results going on. For example, many people have lost faith. And that's the sense I have in my part of the woods. And aside that, everyone has their own life with their own troubles and couldn't give a monkey about what's going on in yours. I actually find that freeing. You're not kidding. It feels to me like even more reason to not overthink, all the more reason to get your own life humming along in a fashion that makes sense and feels wonderful. I think when we know and accept that we cannot control everything, and thank goodness for that, learning to let it all be curbs overthinking. That realisation is a welcome relief. But what can we do in the real world to stop, slow down overthinking? I can only speak to what I've done and still do if the overthinking sneakily starts up. I find reaching out to my daughter or friends and having a catch-up can lighten the load to see if I'm making sense or making a mountain out of a molehill. So yeah, social interaction helps for sure. I do like to listen to a meditation and give my mind over to that. I find that very helpful, puts things in perspective very quickly, as does exercise. It is an excellent distraction simply because you feel good and kind of pleased with yourself. I know you do. Well, I do. I feel good that I just managed to get to the door. It's good that you care enough for yourself that you get to the gym. I know. That you showed up for yourself. That's right. So while you're feeling all pleased, you're perfectly positioned to forget your woes. And if you're really lucky, they get to put that into lovely perspective handbag and it loses its power over you. That probably annoys me the most about overthinking is that in my way of thinking, I've handed over my power to thoughts that stand to ruin my day, hell, possibly weeks, months. I guess I formed that opinion of myself when I conceded that I was indeed handing over my thinking to my ego. And on that day of realising it, I have been, very careful about it ever since. Action and direction shifts a lot of unwanted habits, that's for sure. And keeping up the action. Taking a big step back sure enables a clearer view of what's going on in your thinking. Overthinking? For sure, Bob. Do you overthink, Bob? Bob? Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you over my internal monologue. That's okay, Bob. We all get noisy in our heads at times. Thank you. #overthinking. You are not alone to be overthinking. Certain studies suggest that up to 73% of people between the ages of 25 and 35 chronically overthink. That's not to say that people past that age do, but they were just some interesting stats that I fell over. It is common and normal to overthink, but there is an out. And as said by Sarah Sperber, we don't lie down at night and think to ourselves, okay, time to ruminate for the next 2 hours instead of falling asleep. Your brain simply does what it has done in the past. So, like everything we wish to change, it is changing our habits and creating a different pathway to a peaceful mind. A quote from Buddha, nothing will harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. Oh boy, that's a truie, isn't it? Sure is. Now we know that overthinking is prevalent all over the planet. To have the ability to have a decent attention span can be thwarted by overthinking. The more we are caught in our mind, the more we overthink. It's draining of energy and reduces our contentment in our lives. You don't have to have anxiety or diagnosis of mental health issues to be overthinking. Bringing in the ability to have a quiet mind, learning to quiet down the mind. Changing our breathing patterns has far-reaching benefits. I recall reading about this at least a year ago, and it is well worth seeking, changing our breathing. breathwork. Many say of all the health and wellness tools they have tried, breathwork is number one. It is said to be a solid pillar of mental and physical health. Patrick McKeown is an international breath and sleep expert and certainly worth following and benefiting from. He has stuff on Instagram and TikTok. His wonderful life-saving knowledge. Above and beyond everything else, it is breathing through the nose, in and out through the nose. McKeown advocates for the nasal breathing technique, inhaling and exhaling through the nose, since it involves greater recruitment of the diaphragm than mouth breathing and has the advantage of providing added stability to the spine. Breathing correctly also unlocking concussion recovery with mindful breathing. So check out Patrick McKeown, please. McKuen spelled McKeown, Patrick McKeown. 1 billion people around the world have obstructive sleep apnea, and the numbers are 1 to 5% of children have sleep disorder breathing. 10 to 15% of children are snoring. These children are not getting the important deep sleep, and the problem with that is the brain doesn't develop the way it should do. Sleep is a vital component for concentration and the ability to learn. So then one has to ask the question about brain damage. Then kids think they can't learn. It hits their self-esteem and can and does alter their lives. 1 billion people, oh my God, it's such a huge number, around the world have obstructive sleep apnea. Okay, that's enough info there, but thought it was well worth mentioning for those overthinkers who may not also be great sleepers as well. Becoming a nose breather is a game changer. Overthinkers can relate to sleep problems, hence why I brought up an interesting solution worth following up if you haven't already. Unable to make quick decisions? Sticking with what you know. Have you ever heard the expression, better the devil you know? Looking at it the wrong way. Sometimes we get stuck in our decisions, don't we, because we're coming at it the wrong way. Sometimes we're not able to make a quick decision because we don't have enough information, or we have maybe too much information. There might be too many options. We might be feeling stressed or fearing that we're going to miss an opportunity, which then gives us the feeling that we're dealing with uncertainty. Overthinking can also enhance the fear of failure. Some people are inherently more hesitant when it comes to making decisions. Indecisiveness certainly can be a learned behaviour. Those raised in environments where decision making is seen as an opportunity to grow tend to feel more comfortable making choices, says Dr. Carla Manley, a clinical psychologist. If, however, decision making becomes associated with making errors or bad choices, indecisiveness often results. Isn't that the truth? This is only a small example, but I remember we got a new teacher. I was only a young girl, and I was putting my arm up to put my hand up, to answer questions, and each time I put my hand up, I got the answer wrong, and this teacher made such a fuss about me getting the answer wrong that I lost my confidence when I was around that teacher, and I just remember the feeling of it. But fortunately for me, I had other teachers that, thought that that I was a smart girl, like all the kids in our classes, made us all feel like we really mattered and that we were all interesting. But I think if a person was to have too much of that knockback, I think it could be just, so detrimental. So, and also if a parent criticises a child for making a poor decision, the child will actually avoid wanting to make decisions for being, for fear of being seen as a failure. When we might be blaming ourselves for things or blaming ourselves for everything, we've got to learn to have a little bit of compassion for ourselves, don't we, marble dwellers? We do. We'll be more compassionate with those that you can see need, some compassion. So, but the question is, what about yourself? Are you showing yourself the love and the respect that you should? If you learn how to misunderstand or how to understand your strengths or weaknesses, you can see where you might need to go a little bit easy on yourself. So I think it's also be fluid enough to be able to change when you visualise yourself. Do you see yourself, do you see someone that's stone or do you see soft clay? Let's just pretend we do this, and maybe we should start if we don't already, maybe we try not to see ourselves as something which is hard or not being able to be changed, but rather someone who's malleable. Could it be that long ago you became the scapegoat in your family? Scapegoat's always someone who stepped in, took the blame in every situation. Sometimes they were pushed gradually into that position, while other times they learnt that taking the blame often ended the arguments in the family. I mean, it's so huge and broad, this particular subject. Research shows that self-compassion can help us improve our lives and be with ourselves in a more accepting way. According to psychologist Kristen Neff, PhD, tender self-compassion can empower you to accept yourself, a practice that can blossom into what she calls a caring force. Combining strength with love, a caring force can enable you to expand self-compassion towards compassion to motivate compassionate change in yourself and beyond yourself. She calls this fierce self-compassion.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too, Bob. I think that sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Do you, Bob? This will be good. What am I going to say?
You're going to say it's about that time.
Well, funny you should say, Bob, but it actually is that time.
Oh,
Yeah, look, but we'll be back next time. Next week. We'll be back, and and before you know it, it'll be the week after. It'll be Christmas again.
oh yeah, like Christmas.
Me too, Bob. So, marble dwellers, if you're overthinking again, breathe. It's okay. You'll figure it out, and even if you don't, that's okay too.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, say good day to the family for me, give the housefly a swat, and we'll see you next time, okay? Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.